fact is not happening. And it's most reprehensible that firmer steps are not being taken by the government to protect the right of the ordinary citizen to go about his lawful business. Now, there are some very disturbing reports coming through in parts of the country about what is happening. I am getting a large number. I am pledged not to use any names, and therefore I am only... On this side, we respect confidence. On this side, we respect confidence. Of course, the honourable gentleman would like names, wouldn't he?
Can the right honourable lady perhaps tell us how she can reconcile her support for Fords to settle at any price, and for the government not to have any influence over Fords, with a sudden desire now to halt trade unions from carrying out legitimate strike action? How does she... And if she has information which she says is confidential, what value is it if she's not prepared to name exactly where and when it's taking place?
All it is.
At no stage, even though frequently invited to do so, did I support the Ford strike. It was a strike in breach of an agreement. We on this side believe that unions should uphold their agreements as a matter of honour. One moment. I am finished with what the honourable gentleman has said. The argument I was developing now is that there is no right to intimidate any citizen in this country. That intimidation is taking place, and I propose to use actual reports from the press in which names are given. They are substantiated by many, many telegrams coming in, and I am not prepared to mention names because that's what a number of people would like me to do, and then they would be exposed to intimidation as well. It's reported in the Daily Telegraph today by the animal feed compounders. Very important. I rather thought that everyone recognised it was important for foodstuffs to get through to animals, not apparently the people below the gangway. This is the report. We are finding that essential ingredients, fat, salt and vitamins are not being allowed through in a number of cases. Not being allowed through. It's a very alarming situation. One Reading feed firm, which is going to be mentioned, was told, one Reading feed firm was told that its non-union driver would have to pay £16.64 a year's membership subscription to the Transport and General Workers Union before he would be allowed in to collect animal feed at Southampton docks. Mr. Charles Cooper, a director of the firm, Walter Parsons and Sons, said, "I think it's blackmail." I thought this was a free country. If our chaps want to join a union, they can. We don't see why we should force a chap to join. My point is this. No union has any right whatsoever to do that, and I believe it is an offence against the law to do it, and action should be taken to see that lorry drivers are not threatened, that they cannot get through unless they have a union card or take one out. Now, one of the problems about the present law on the nature of picketing is that it is extremely difficult to enforce, and we better recognise that. Intimidation and violence are unlawful. Intimidation and violence, I believe, are happening and are a daily occurrence. And if the present law is unenforceable, then we've got to change it so that it becomes enforceable. If the Prime Minister wishes to embark upon that, we will most certainly support him. But when the Home Secretary went on to say that the law has not changed, he was being less than complete in his assessment of the law. The law on the nature of picketing has not changed, but the law on the occasions and places at which it can take place has in fact changed and has been changed by this government. There were, in fact, very considerable debates in this House during the passage of the 1974 and 1976 Trade Union and Labour Relations Acts. This question came up. Hitherto, the position in this country has been that trade unions only have immunities against the law, immunity from the process of law, provided first as a trade dispute, and provided secondly that the immunity only went to a contract of employment. That was all. But that was not good enough for this government. They extended the immunity of trade unions in a very, very vital way. They, in fact, made trade unions immune in a trade dispute, not only in relation to breach of contracts of employment, but in relation to breach of any commercial contract whatsoever. There were daily arguments in the Standing Committee upstairs about this. The government was warned what would happen if it did this. There was a long letter from Campbell Adamson in the Times which was actually quoted during those proceedings. I'm going to quote parts of it today, and I may point out that Campbell Adamson was not exactly the staunchest ally of the Conservative Party. He said that if the new Labour government put the change through as was drafted, this is what he said: if the bill is passed as at present drafted, unions will be free in law to blockade or boycott or threaten to do so whenever they like, in respect of a trade dispute anywhere in Great Britain or in the rest of the world. Secondly, it will be lawful to use the picket line for the purpose of establishing boycotts or blockades, whether against an employer in dispute or against employers, companies or bodies which have nothing to do with the dispute in question. The government was warned if they passed that section, it would lead to blacking, blockade and boycott. They were warned about it, that's what they wanted, and that's what we've got.
The Honourable Lady refers to the law as it was in 1972. Is she not aware of the picketing that took place at the Saltley Coke Depot, led by Arthur Scargill, which may have been illegal, but which worked from the union point of view, and the law...
Order. The Right Honourable Lady give way to the Honourable Gentleman. He's making a brief intervention.
And despite what laws are on the statute book or what is written on a piece of paper, it does not guarantee that it will prevent picketing.
The honourable member made one of the most revealing and significant interventions I've ever heard in this House. He's not concerned with legality. He's not concerned with protecting the rights of the ordinary citizen to go about his business in this country. He's concerned with the convenience of the trade union. And it's because of that attitude, that today many of our citizens are having to apply for permits to a strike committee of the Transport and General Workers' Union. That is exactly what this government has landed our people into, and it is totally and utterly wrong. They, in fact, have changed the law on picketing, not on the nature but on the extent, by virtue of that act. They were warned what would happen. It has happened, and they are in large measure responsible for it. They doubtless will. Of course I will, only too delighted. You're most helpful.